Have you ever felt so hurt that the pain became a part of your daily routine? Like a splinter you kept pressing just to remind yourself it was still there? That's exactly where Lila found herself. She was on the verge of launching her dream, a cozy little community art studio, when her business partner, Mark, betrayed her. He took their shared concept, their funding, and vanished, leaving Lila with a mountain of debt and a heart fractured by shock and fury. This wasn't just a financial setback. It was a personal devastation that felt like a deliberate attack on her very identity. The sting of Mark's actions was so sharp, so complete, that Lila didn't just lose her studio. She lost her bright, trusting outlook on life, replacing it with a heavy, constant, throbbing anger. The pain didn't fade with time. It settled in and grew roots. Lila put the studio plans away and took a job she hated, spending her evenings hunched over her laptop, not working, but mentally replaying the scenario, crafting scathing, imaginary arguments she would never deliver. Resentment, she discovered, was an exhausting, full-time job. It was like lugging a backpack filled with jagged rocks everywhere she went, to the grocery store, to family dinners, even into her dreams. This heavy burden stole her energy, killed her creativity, and soured every interaction. She felt protective of her anger, believing it was the only thing standing between her and being a naive fool again. She was physically moving forward in life, but emotionally she was chained to the moment of betrayal, standing still in time. Lila's inner world had become a barren place. She often thought about the little patio garden outside her apartment. When Mark first left, she'd been so consumed by the weight of her anger that she stopped watering her favorite potted plants. Now, the soil was dry and cracked, and the vibrant green leaves had shriveled to brittle brown. The neglect reflected her own life perfectly. The joy, the ambition, the ability to focus on beauty, all withered by the corrosive salt of her bitterness. She tried to force herself to draw or paint, activities that once brought her immense peace, but her hand would shake and the paper would remain blank. Her creative well had dried up, consumed by the fierce internal heat of her unresolved grudge. One rainy Saturday, Lila was visiting her Aunt Clara, a woman known for her simple wisdom and thriving backyard. Clara found Lila staring blankly at the rain. When Lila finally spoke about her bitterness toward Mark, Clara didn't offer sympathy. She offered perspective. "Lila," Clara said softly, putting a warm hand on her shoulder, "you think you're holding on to that anger to punish Mark? But look at you. You're punishing the most important person, yourself. Holding a grudge is like grabbing a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone. You're the one who gets burned first. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give to the person who wronged you. It's water you give to the soil of your own soul so that you can grow again." Aunt Clara's words, simple and direct, finally broke through the static of Lila's pain. It wasn't about Mark winning or losing. It was about Lila getting her life back. The next day, she went home and did something terrifyingly simple. She wrote Mark a short, unemotional letter. The note wasn't demanding money or an apology. It was simply saying, "I choose to release the anger tied to our past. I wish you peace, and I choose peace for myself." She didn't send it. She simply folded it, placed it in a box with all the painful legal documents, sealed the box with tape, and stored it away in the deepest part of her closet. It was a symbolic ritual, a private declaration of emotional independence. The shift wasn't a sudden, grand fireworks display. It was a quiet, profound change, like the first ray of sunlight after a long storm. When she woke up the next morning, the heavy backpack of rocks was gone. Her mind, no longer dedicated to constructing scenarios of revenge, felt light and spacious. She found herself smiling at the barista for the first time in a year. That evening, she instinctively reached for her old sketchbook. Instead of drawing the sharp, dark lines of frustration, her hand sketched soft, curving petals and leaves. The anger had occupied so much space in her heart, and now that space was empty, ready to be filled with creativity and lightness. This newfound mental clarity created a ripple effect. With the emotional weight lifted, Lila focused on a new, smaller, more manageable plan for a different studio, this time relying only on her own skills and a small loan. She noticed opportunities she had previously been too blinded by anger to see. She began networking, speaking with passion and sincerity about her new vision. People were drawn to her authentic energy, and local artists quickly pledged their support. The patio garden, which she started watering again, began to sprout timid green shoots. The blossoming impact of forgiveness wasn't abstract. It was the tangible return of her drive, her kindness, and her future. Several months later, the universe offered an unexpected, quiet confirmation. Lila's new studio space, smaller but perfectly her own, was ready for renovation. She ran into Mark in the hardware store parking lot. He looked tired and worn, and he saw Lila loading bags of soil and colorful paint into her truck. There was no exchange of words, no grand apology, just a long, silent look. Mark saw a woman who was clearly flourishing, not raging. For Lila, seeing him didn't trigger the old fury. She simply registered his presence, and then went back to tightening the tailgate. The power was no longer his, it was hers. She had used forgiveness to build a firewall against his toxicity, securing her happiness. Lila realized the truth of Aunt Clara's teaching. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-preservation. It's not about ignoring justice or condoning poor behavior. It is about dissolving the connection between your inner peace and the person who harmed you. It frees your energy, allowing you to invest in growth rather than endless, debilitating struggle. The biggest lesson is that you don't forgive to set the other person free. You forgive to set your own soul free, unlocking the potential for new growth, creativity, and joy. Lila's life bloomed because she chose to water her own garden instead of standing guard over the empty patch where a betrayal had occurred. If you've been carrying a heavy weight, remember Lila's story. You have the power to put the hot coal down. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this journey with us. Please like and subscribe the channel for more motivational stories, and we'd love to read your thoughts. Comment your opinion below. What is the heaviest emotional weight you've ever chosen to let go of?